Yep.
Like network television, like ABC, NBC's carried it. ESPN used to have it, but now you really don't see too much anymore.
Mm-mm. No, and it's unfortunate because um, so I live in a community that has a lot of horseback riders, right? So everything is televised. So that sport, is very popular. It's everything that's televised in the bodybuilding, you have to pay in order to watch it. And I think that actually um, prevents more people understanding the sport, and it also prevents them from supporting the sport and getting involved and getting other people involved into the sport. But usually what draws people in, I think, is they know somebody who has gotten into the sport, and then they see their transformation, they see how they've changed throughout the entire process, and then they want to do the exact same thing. So, but for me, I was the fat kid growing up in the 80s, which would be like a normal kid now. So when I saw the physique of the bikini competitor back then, I was like, that's what I want. And I needed because I came from a very competitive background. So I did horseback riding, I did track and field. I was the first female wrestler. I did a lot of crazy things like that. Played basketball. I was the shortest basketball player. Um, and I needed a goal. Like I needed something because otherwise I didn't prioritize my training like I should have. So
Yeah. Well, I grew up the fat kid in the '90s. I'm still a fat man today. And yeah, I used to play football, baseball when I was younger. We didn't like have a high school wrestling team. We were a little poor country high school. We used to wrestle as kids. We used to wrestle girls too. But then you remember,
yeah,
you girls, you start developing, and then we wrestle. We were just copping fields. Y'all were going real hard. Y'all really want to fight. We were just keep that memory. We're teenage boys.
yeah,
Our mindset is different compared to y'all's. But yeah, I think what it was is also we need more of an athletes to maybe step up and maybe really push out for more opportunities for themselves. I mean, you have to be your own advocate. You can't
yes,
expect anybody else to do the work for you. Not willing to do your work yourself. Like I know a lot of bodybuilders like to do these podcasts, but mostly podcasts with bodybuilders. But do like something like Joe Rogan or whoever's a popular podcaster at that time.
yeah,
People like Andrea Shaw, who I just pulled up, who is one of the top ladies in sport of bodybuilding. I mean, do more stuff outside of the bodybuilding realm, and maybe it
right,
get more attention. That's the thing is, because people look at bodybuilding, all they think about is like these big, muscly people that take pop pills and just get huge for nothing.
yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I get a lot of attention when I work these biohacking conferences, and I've been on a couple of podcasts in regards to the biohacking community and whatnot. So yeah, and occasionally on the podcast, occasionally the bodybuilding conversation gets brought up. Usually, we're talking about peptides, or we're talking about supplementation, or devices for recovery, and but definitely when I'm at these conferences, everybody notices my muscles. Everybody notices my size, especially when I'm pretty close to a competition. And I actually worked the biggest biohacking conference, Dave Asprey's conference, about 3 weeks prior, and yeah, people were like asking to take photos and all sorts of stuff. It was a great experience. So
That's
it
good.
did get the word out for bodybuilding.
Now you mentioned biohacking. What is that? Explain to us for us laymen who don't understand it.
Yeah, so and that has been a very difficult thing for me because when I opened up my little biohacking studio in Ocala, when I told people what that's what I was doing, nobody understood what biohacking is. And so what I basically do is I hack your body so that I'm able to optimize your body for either healing, for weight loss, for muscle building, for recovery, for multiple different things. And so my tagline is adding years to your life and life to your years, because if I can't do what I want to do for the rest of my life, I don't care how long that age is. And if you look at, we have a lifespan, and then we have a health span. So as a population as a whole, our lifespan has increased, but our health span actually has decreased. And So we're just dying longer because before we would get a disease and within months die. Now we get a disease and then we're monitoring and controlling that disease state without changing the lifestyle for an extended period of years. And then slowly but surely, clients' activities of daily living decrease and they're no longer able to do what they want to do. And
Mhm.
they can't get out of bed or they can't go play with their grandkids or things like that. So what I like to do is, I work with a lot of people who are older and who have pain management issues. So one of the things that most people would not think would be a very good thing to do is to teach deadlifts. But I use a hex bar so that when we're doing deadlifts, as long as they don't have like an immediate issue going on with their low back, um, then people need to learn how to pick things up from the ground without blowing out their back. And so this is a good way for them to learn that. Now we're not doing crazy weights. You're not doing 300 pounds. They might start out at, 10. Then they might get all the way up to 70 pounds. And that would be a huge success for them. So, um, so basically when you come to my little place, Quantum Wellness, well, I determine what your goals are and then how we can best optimize your body to get there. So be it reduce pain, change the lifestyles as far as diet and nutrition is concerned, address gut health. So I do fecal matter testing and then I'll put a protocol together, supplementation, and how to address your gut. Because honestly, the gut is so influential on so many things from not only the absorption of the foods that we consume, but also to your immune system, to your inflammation throughout your entire body, which affects everything from brain health to muscle building to how your body looks. So, and circling this back to bodybuilding, that's one of the main things that you do in peak week is try to keep your inflammation down. You usually train legs the last day, like a week out, maybe 5 days out. And then you see all the bodybuilders lying down and with their legs up in the air because they're trying to get all that inflammation out of their body. So, that's where and the reason why is getting that inflammation out is going to make their appearance look that much better because now you're not holding all that water.
Oh,
And then I have
okay.
other devices that help with that too.
Yeah, and the think about test, I know that like I a couple of times I take the Cologuard test where you check out see if I have colon cancer. Because some
Yeah.
people say that's better than taking and get a colostomy because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it can perforate the colon that way.
Yep.
And yeah, and I think also how you pointed out. You worked in big pharma for a long time, as a
Right.
pharmaceutical salesperson. And the thing is that there's more money in treating disease than finding a cure.
Yep. And ironically enough, a lot of the doctors that I used to call on now, they've either given up and they're tired of the system and they're completely retired, or they've moved over to more of the consultation, concierge style medicine, where they are dealing more functional medicine. So when I left pharma, I went into it's called nutraceuticals. So it's where you would talk and teach doctors how to utilize maybe a vitamin or mineral or herb to treat their patient's symptoms versus using a prescription drug. Like white willow bark, for example, that's actually the precursor to aspirin. So, it helps to reduce pain. Red yeast rice, right? That helps to lower your cholesterol. So these are some things that you could utilize that are more holistic. Um, Now, what I'm in school right now also for if I ever get the time to actually complete my training, which is it's called my PhD in natural medicine. So there's one aspect that functional medicine doesn't do, which it looks at the whole mindset and spirituality. So it combines everything together because your lifestyle, what you're going through on a daily basis can either hurt or hinder you. So, and that's very true. We talk about that in bodybuilding as well. Like your job, your career might negatively be impacting your recovery, your training, your prep. You could be overdoing it work wise and not be able to recover. Like I have a client who, unfortunately, it seems every time he goes through a prep, this is the first time we've prepped together, but every time he goes through a prep, he gets pneumonia. So, and that's likely due to the fact that his immune system just goes, okay, bro, I need to take a rest day. So, and if you don't listen to your body before then that's what it's gonna do. It's gonna say, okay, I'm gonna shut down so that I can get the rest that I need.
I
So,
can I can tell you from experience. I remember I had pneumonia many years ago. It was left in my lung. It was called the walking pneumonia, and it took
ooh,
me a while to recover. Like about 12 years ago, I had a heart attack on my job, and because of I had issues with my heart. I have a pacemaker. I had it for the last 12 years,
mhm,
and I'm getting older. Also, I got two bad knees like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Concrete does not bend. You stand on it all day, and also this weight is one thing. And I remember because I made some choices in my life because I was taking my mom for a long time. And
yeah,
when she passed, it was time to take care of me. And I remember I went to a doctor's office. Said, "Miss McCarthy, you're just about a few pounds for 500." So I said, "You know what? There's something I got to do. I have to cut out some things. I had cut out things completely because sometimes, as you know, food can be both a weapon and a tool, especially if you're dieting."
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a comment here. Shout out to my guests popping through. This is my man Black Panther. He says, here you go. He says, hi George, Black Panther. Yeah, I appreciate you, brother. Also, he says this. He says, uh, Miss Martin is the greatest. We got some fans. Yeah. I tell you, Ryan, when I got a new girl on here, it's like the episode of the Chappelle Show when Charlie Murphy and Eddie meets this guy Nikki Free. And say, hey, George got a new girl. She finds a motherfucker. That's how these guys act because because this is they George get the opportunity to see women like yourself because many guys who follow this sport,
Yeah.
it's one thing is going to shows, expense, and everything that's involved in it, and also raising a family. Because how old is your baby now?
She's 20.
Ah, yeah. So
Yeah, 20 and 5 foot one and a half and hasn't even broke 100 pounds yet. And and no joke, I keep telling her, I'm like, Alex, let me put you on heels, put you in the fit model bathing suit, and I can turn you pro in 3 months. And she's like, Mom, that's your thing. No, I don't think so. So it is what it is. So it is her, she'll find her own sport. Right now she's working at a new Margaritaville that's opening up here in Ocala, or just north of Ocala. So the doors haven't opened. They're doing all their orientation right now. I'm just tickled pink that she's following what at the moment keeps her entertained.
well, I remember when I was 20. Remember when we were 20? We were wild and young and but then we get to this point in our life when we are getting old. We watch your babies starting to go out there and work and see what the world's like. But you know
Yep.
what? Maybe she'll eventually. Sometimes you gotta let children be who they want to be first, and then they'll find their way. Maybe she'll,
Oh,
maybe she'll get into it. Fit model, excuse me. Ha! I am.
listen,
I. Yeah.
I know what you mean, but I mean, at the end of the day, that like when she was in high school, she was doing ROTC. She had little shoulders, six pack abs, and a 13-inch difference, maybe 15-inch difference between her waist and her hips without training, just doing regular, you know, stuff, PT for ROTC. So that's why I was telling her, I was like, oh man, I really would love to get my hands on you to let me do my thing. But she's like, no. So
you, you feel like what I already created you. Let me update you a little more. You feel like the mad scientist, like Frankenstein.
oh, you have no idea. I got everything out of her father that I wanted. And then I cookie cuttered that kid. So all up
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So
We got another comment. Excuse me, I put my old man glasses on for it quick. He says, "This is my man. Shout out to my man, Black Panther says, Miss Martin, where are you originally from?"
so I was born in Chicago, but I spent the majority of my childhood in Toronto. And um I have a friend who we grew up as 8-year olds, like that's how we met. And my mom thought it was great idea to cut my hair in the Dutch Dutch boy haircut with a name like Ryan. No puberty hit yet, and these guys used to think that I was a little boy that liked to wear dresses and ride bikes, and they still hung out with me and played with me, and and we had all this fun stuff. Ren moved, and then I bumped it, like I reconnected. Thank you, social media, with Ren. Turns out back in the '90s, he and early 2000s, he was heavily competing in bodybuilding, and the bodybuilding category, and he was Mass Monsters sponsored athlete and everything like that. Now he's retired. And when I did the Toronto Pro, that was one of the reasons why I did the Toronto Pro, was that I could see old friends, see Toronto, and for some reason I thought it was actually going to be in downtown Toronto, but it was in Mississauga area ish. So I should have rented a car. Because I went a little stir crazy sitting in the Airbnb doing nothing until my friend was free to come pick me up and us to do some last minute shopping that I forgot. So it was a lot of fun. Oh, yeah, you can come. Hold on.
Yeah, great. Well, give us a second, folks. We have here a comment from my man, Shelly Man Black Panther. He's basically, he says, women's bodybuilding and women's physique are better than women's fit model, in my professional opinion. Women's bodybuilding and women's physique is the greatest. Yeah, I give that. Also, he says, Chicago, Illinois, USA is the greatest. Toronto, Canada is the greatest as well. He likes a lot. Drop the words great. Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, and like I say, I remember a group of girls who were tomboys who liked to run with us
Yes.
boys, play around, hang out, and then y'all start hitting puberty. And again, when y'all want to fight, we want to cop a feel. And and this sport I've been following for a long time. Ever since I was a kid. My older brother used to be a football star here in my hometown. He used to collect the muscle mags and stuff like that. And I remember guys like Arnold and guys like Lee Haney and Lita Brada and then y'all women, y'all kind of cited my pubescent age. People like Corey Everson and when Laura Craval and Angela Langer. Sorry, you got it. But it's just a sport where it's about dedication and also
Yes.
consistency. It's easy, especially for women. Like what you feel like would you want to see more for your, especially your division figure, where you see a lot
Yeah.
of women are starting getting. It's like the division is starting to meld between physique and women's and figure.
Well, that has been a conversation that has been discussed a lot. I have actually had two people who one was an IFBB judge. When I saw him, I was at the end of my build phase for opposing clinic, and then who my now trainer. They both said, "Oh, I really like you for physique." Me, because of my size and my proportions. But then I got to meet Natalia, and I took a picture, and she made me look like a bikini competitor. And I was like, yeah. See, I told you guys, like in Ocala, I am one of the more muscular women. Um, but up against a lot of these other individuals, I am still small. So, but I did get a chance at the show over the weekend to meet Sydney, and I was pleasantly surprised. She is not that much taller than me, and she has a great personality. And if I get an opportunity to make my way up to her area, I'm going to sneak a training session in with her and maybe do some practice posing. So, because I still know, for me, like the training will forever be in my life. The diet will forever be in my life. The posing, that has always been my weak link. And it is something that I find that if I work with different people, and this is how it used to be in horseback riding as well. They might be able to say something, they're telling me the exact same thing, but one person might be able to say it in a way that my peanut brain can actually process than the other person, and they're basically saying it the same thing, but one just says it a little bit different, and then it finally clicks. So that's why I like to work with different people as well.
Yeah, it's good that you like when we hear a lot where I have interviews ladies how when they have interaction with a judge and the judge just
Yeah.
tell you, oh, you want you to go bigger, but you don't really give them the details of what you mean by going bigger. But when you get a judge who tells you this is what you need to work on, this is what you need to fix, work on
Yeah.
this, and then you might come in maybe better placing. That's one
Yeah.
thing. I think if you tell people exactly what you want from you and from them, I think it helps out better than just give a cookie cutter plan. And also, she's
Well,
mentioned Sid Gillen, who is the 8-time Miss Olympia. Here she is, with her partner and friend, Andrea Shaw. I mean, I think she's so amazing. I want to tell you this quick story. I always want to tell you a story because this is where, as my other guy says, like, if you get us something, Ryan, never do it for free. And a friend of mine, her name is Eunice, and I always wanted to shout her and the company Bad Rap. The moniker is Big and Defined, Ripped and Pumped. And a few years ago, when they had the Olympic back in Orlando,
yeah.
Eunice ran into Andrea, and she did this for me. She sent me this issue of muscle development. I love this. I know keep the pace. I know it's getting a little frayed, but I love it. I pet and love it. I call it George. But what makes it so special for me when someone like Andrea, who's the current Miss Olympia champion, tells me she appreciates my support and signs it, that really keeps me going because you know what, I'm doing good work. Like, is it like other than Natalia? Is there anybody else you've been like a fan of? You're impressed with their ethic, their work ethic, their training, and overall their body?
Oh my gosh. There are several people. The Natalia in figure out of Mexico. I had an opportunity to meet her and work with her. She's also short statured like myself. And this was before I turned pro. So that gave me a lot of high hopes that, figure really was a good category for me. Six pack abs, Stella. I love her. She's awesome. Um, I've seen her grow so much in the wellness industry, the wellness category over the last several years. Her and her husband are great. Every time I meet them, they're just absolutely the nicest people in the world. Um, they're the girls that I stepped on stage with over the weekend. All of them were fantastic. So I didn't really get a chance to talk to the one that won, but the
Elaine
pretty much
Alvarez.
everybody else. Hmm?
Elaine Alvarez. Actually, I met her in Tampa when she was doing physique,
Is
and
he?
then
Yeah,
we did an interview, and I was surprised that she was doing figure. We hadn't keep up too much lately, but I saw when I saw on the list, I said, "Wait a minute! I thought she was doing physique because she earned a pro card originally in figure herself, and then she was
yeah,
doing physique for the last couple of years, and then she went back, and now she's going to her first Olympia. She beat out at
yeah,
least two ladies who were former Olympians. That
yeah,
is Della and Bahar.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, backstage it was really quite nice. Everybody had a good personality. Everybody was talking with everyone. Um, there's a same situation when I was in Toronto. I almost didn't get a chance to step on stage because there was a little mistake with timing and all sorts of stuff. But one of the girls that I met, her name is Shelly. I've stayed in contact with. She actually came in fifth, so she's also been um, another person that I look up to. Her body is rocking. So I mean, she's gonna come and do Atlanta. If I didn't have a client competing, I would have driven up to Atlanta to watch her compete. So because her she without a doubt had the best back on stage in Toronto, and she has crazy shoulders, and I think they've gotten bigger since. So it's awesome. So
Yeah. Shout out to
um,
Atlanta Pro. That is the Linda Murray Atlanta Pro. My friend Eunice and her company Bad Rap are sponsoring women's bodybuilding at that
ah,
show. That's great. I'm so
that's
happy.
wonderful.
Especially as a fan of that division, I like to see it still have a fighting chance where
Yeah.
it's getting pushed out. We have here a comment from my man Black Panther. He's sticking in here. He says, "Miss Ryan, you have an incredible hard ripped physique of art, beautiful arms of silver steel."
Thank you.
Beautiful pink shirt. Miss Ryan, you are the greatest. We got to read the
Thank you.
details. Also, he says this, he says like, Miss Ryan, do great posing routines. Miss Ryan, you are the greatest, and
Thank you.
also he says, women's figure must have guidelines to improve the division for women's worldwide.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, I think I talked to this one lady. She asked me, "What do you think is the problem? Why you're not seeing as many competitors trying to be pros or coming up, or so few competitors at the shows?" Well, I think issues between finances and big part is judging, because the judges are it's supposed to be a certain look. Y'all supposed to have that broad shoulders, that small tapering waist. You have to
Yep.
have like you're like an upside down Dorito. One girl explained to me,
Uh-huh.
like and you've seen girls who like maybe a little bit more broader and thicker. I've seen one lady who just made a switch from women's physique to um from figure to women's physique, and she just did the Toronto, and also she did the show in Spain.
Yeah. I've seen quite a few, and I think Tyler is doing a good job trying to get encourage those women who are better suited to be in physique to tell them, you need to go to physique. Um, I will say my feedback has always been very positive in definitely at a pro level, but even when I was a figure amateur, I actually had, okay, Ryan, you need to work on XYZ. Like you, 1 year it was great, conditioning is wonderful, great overall package. You just need to get bigger now that you won your pro card all over. And then the next year was you need to grow your back, your lower lats, your glutes, and your shoulders, and work on your presentation. And so that's exactly what I did. And what I so one thing that I can't control who steps on stage with me, right? The only thing I can control of is me. And I'm bringing always the best package that I can. And the person that I'm trying to beat is the person who was stepped on stage the last time. So for this last show, I'll, of course I wanted to win. Everybody wants to win, but I'm going to say that the winning was not my number one priority. My determination that the show was a good show or not was, did I accomplish everything that I wanted to accomplish, which is that I could control, which was bringing my best package, feeling confident and on the stage and not being nervous, enjoying everything and slowing down the entire routine so that I was able to actually hold the poses for a long enough time that the judges could see me, and B, the photographer was able to actually catch the picture, because in the past I would get so nervous that I would um, do each thing quickly, too quickly. One of the benefits that at the universe when I won pro is they had us all go out for our comparisons first before we did our individuals. So that helped me get my nerves out um, before I actually was up there all by myself. Because, like I said, the very first show that I did, I was bikini. And for me, I loved everything about it. But when I stepped on stage, I felt like it was the dreams that you have where you're walking into high school and you're completely naked. That's what it felt like for me. So, but it was so out of the norm for me to do something like that. And I that's another thing I love about bodybuilding is it takes you out of your norm. So, and it allows you to be your most authentic self. So you can be who you are, like your evil side that likes to come out. I love that. I love the fact that you have that, and I love the fact that it comes out. And I think that that's wonderful. That's what makes you you, and what makes this channel as special as it is.
Yeah, well, I don't call him evil. I just call him a particular type of criminal. He likes anarchy and chaos. He likes things like dynamite, gunpowder, and gasoline. I won't say so much as evil. He's just misunderstood. But yeah, I think one thing I often hear: sometimes you have to learn to be comfortable, be uncomfortable.
Correct.
Because I remember I was talking to one lady yesterday how she has a friend. She says she's shy, but I tell you, how can you be shy when you're walking nearly butt naked, all down and tan across the stage? I mean, people will look at you. But again, I think everybody finds something about the sport that can be a little bit, you know, it might affect their mindset of the introvertness,
Yeah.
but what it does, it brings out the best qualities of you. We go out there, like I say like this, when we who are in the audience, we see these amazing bodies, you work hard, the condition you put into it, the shape you put into it,
Yeah.
the process of it, but to understand how long it took you from dieting to dehydration to hunger to sometimes, trying to find the time to rest and recover And
Right.
then you just only have maybe a few minutes to walk across the stage, especially with figure. Y'all just got to do a bunch of turns, and that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's definitely, I don't know. I think it's been one of the most enjoyable things for me that I've ever done, and I I never regretted ever stepping on stage, even as nervous as I was in the beginning. So I think it's awesome.
So, folks, when we got the lovely Mrs. Martin here, what we're going to do is we're going to jump into her social media. We're going to check her IG, want to follow her links,
Oh, cool.
also check out her platforms. Reach out to genuine interest. She's a lovely lady. She got a kid. I know, she's just maybe a week out. She's still a little bit pumped and ripped, guys, but calm down. Hold yourself, quail your loins. Yeah, I know you, because I know when my crying Mrs. Martin is, I am a
Yes.
muscle very small, y'all ladies, to cite me again. But guys, be respectful and reach out with genuine
Thank you.
interest and
Yes.
support. There no weird stuff. She got a kid. She don't want her baby to say, "Mom, send this shit to you, Mom." Say, "Hey, here goes that."
Oh,
But check her out, okay? So we're gonna jump
yes.
into her social media for a bit and check
All
it out
right.
here.
And you managed to find some nice old pictures back when I was bikini and selling device equipment and all sorts of fun stuff.
Well, it's the thing. It's called one thing I learned a long time ago is be aware of my surroundings at all time.
Yep.
Mistress. Because that's what I do is research. I always want to find out some. Tell a story about who you are from you were here to where you are now. Here she at the Body B1 Classic, and wow, what do you feel like is your best physical feature? If I'm looking at you right now.
Oh, my back and my quads. So the back comes in really, really well, which I think is one of the reasons why a lot of people have said that they like me for physique. Because if I were to do the double back by, even as a bikini competitor, I had really good pose. And then my quads are always stay pretty lean throughout the year, and they're usually most people recognize my conditioning because of my quads. Um, as always, my hamstrings and my glutes. Well, the glutes are actually have gotten quite large over the years, and to the point where I had two people tell me that now they make my hamstrings look smaller. So we're putting a high focus on my hamstring training, my outer sweep training, and more upper back now. So because I did develop a lot in my lower lats, um, so I kind of want to start to increase the width a little bit again.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nice, good taper, and that's good width in the back. Maybe a little more thickness. Yeah, it could be Wings physique. And here she is with her trainer and coach. And who
Yep.
is he? How long y'all been together?
So Roger is actually a very good friend of mine. I pretty much have been training on my own since October, and then I hit the struggle bus real hard. And I really like somebody that I can talk to and bounce ideas off of, and actually learn from and train. I've trained with Roger as like a training partner from time to time, and so like because he's one of my closest friends, I of course reached out to him when I was like, okay, I need somebody else to take over the wheel here because I just don't want to think. And so for the last 3 weeks of the prep, he handled everything, and it um, he made the show very enjoyable, very relaxed. Same thing with my husband. He came along, so I got to be a passenger princess for the whole drive up there. The two of them drove back and forth. Not that either one of them, they both have bad backs, so the back seat of my truck does not really feel that great. But Roger just started this. It's called a rice pudding. It's the first of its kind here in the United States that requires no cooking.
Mm,
So we had a booth at the show as well. I used it throughout my entire since they launched it in, I want to say, it's the last 4 months. Um, and it's super easy to make, and it really helps with getting in the correct carbs without bloating the stomach
yeah. Here she is giving some instructions. You want to listen?
thing. Oh boy. When your workout starts to hurt, when your lungs are burning, when your legs are shaking, what do? Do you push or do you pull back? Because that moment right there, that's where everything changes. Most people don't fail in the gym because they don't show up. They fail because they never go far enough. They never push themselves. They never get to a point of failure. They stop when it gets uncomfortable. They stop when it gets hard. They stop right before it actually starts to work. So let's be real. Growth doesn't live in comfort. It lives in that place where everything in your mind is telling you to quit, but you don't. That's the rep that matters. That's the set that changes your body. That's the moment that builds you up. You have to learn to embrace the suck, the burn, the fatigue, the doubt. That's not a sign to stop. That's a sign that you're exactly where you need to be. And the people who listen to it and the people who transform, they don't avoid that feeling. They're chasing it. They know that this pain is temporary, but progress lasts. Your mindset has to shift from this is hard, I need to stop, to this is hard, this is where I grow. This is where I'm going to succeed. Because every time you push past that limit, you build more than muscle. You build discipline. You build resilience. You build a version of yourself that doesn't quit. That can be applied to every aspect of your life. So next time you're in the gym and everything in your body is screaming stop, give me that one more rep, then another. Then prove to yourself that you really are who you really are. There are no shortcuts, no coasting, no excuses, just work. If you're ready to stop playing it safe and start pushing your limits, message me.
Yeah, it sounds like that sounds like Rocky Balboa. It's like, let me
Yeah,
tell you something. Life's going to hit you hard. No matter how
yeah,
hard you think you hit, it's how you take the hits and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done. And
that's
she's
right.
also a friend Rogers. Check out his Rogers Rice. It's not cream of rice. Oh, cool. We'll give a moment for him.
I like to share important information over our product, Rogers Rice. A lot of people asked the last time on the events, is this cream of rice? Is this similar with cream of rice? What is the difference? No, it's not cream of rice. It's a complete new product. This product not exists in the USA. This is a new rice product. Cream of rice, traditional cream of rice, have a glycemic index from 75 bis 80. This is similar with sugar. Rogers rice pudding made with rice pieces have a glycemic index from 55 bis 59. Much, much more slower in digesting, not so high insulin spike. We cream of rice. Cream of rice is made with 100% rice flour. I show you. You see it. It's a rice flour. We have here 2 traditional cream of rice from USA. You see it here. Rice flour. And now I show you Rogers rice pudding. You see it here. We have big pieces. 80% is big pieces and 20% in smaller pieces. This is the difference from a rice pudding to cream of rice. The big pieces hold you long, give you long energy. The small pieces go fast in your system. It's perfect for breakfast, post-workout, and pre-workout, or snack, lunch, on the go. What do you want? Cream of rice is perfect when you need quick energy. And the big difference also, you can prepare Rogers rice only with liquid. You need not a stove, a microwave. When you're on the go in your truck, you need only a bottle of water or fruit juice or milk, what you want, and you can eat. You have always real food to eat, not rice flour. This is a big difference for your gut, for your digesting system. You have a lot of more benefits when you eat real food and real carbs between rice flour. Okay?
Well, okay. Well, thank you, Roger, for sharing that. And also, we see that you also have on here several instructions, like for fat loss, and also, you know, you see you work also do nutrition. So,
Yeah.
like, how many clients are, people looking for healthy lifestyle choices, or and you have any competitors that also work with you too?
Yeah, I have. I would say the majority of my clients right now are more lifestyle, pain management, and then I would say a third of them are competitors. So, and the majority of competitors are some master pro competitors. So, and then I've got a couple who are amateur looking to turn pro.
Yeah, I know quite a few interviews have done with like a lot of Masters competitors. Masters really blown up the last couple of years. I've
Yeah.
known some ladies, I said again, who are in their 50s and 60s, even up to 70s competing now because they found
Yeah.
the sport or they've been a fan for a long time, but then life happens. You have kids, you have a job, and then you say, I think I came too late. Maybe you came at the right time because once the kids were growing out of it, because your daughter, she's 20, she's pretty much about grown. You gotta remember, she's not too grown. You gotta remember to beat them down. You gotta beat them down. Shout out to my man, Black Panther. He says this. He um, said, Miss Ryan, never allow anyone to stop you from pursuing your goals. Also, he's telling you this. He says this. He says, Miss Ryan, you have beautiful hair. He likes your
Oh,
hair.
thank you.
And also, he says this. Shout out to him. He says, marriage, children are a great blessing. And also, he says this. He says, uh, and it, he says, great success, take your time, patience, and longevity. And one more, again, he says, Miss Martin, do you participate in other activities outside of women's figure?
Oh yeah. Uh, so I thoroughly love mountain biking, but I have not been on my mountain bike in about a year. The last time I rode, I fell off, and I'm highly allergic to poison ivy. And it was 3 weeks to Toronto Pro, and I almost went there with all the blisters covering my body. But thankfully, my friend, who's a nurse practitioner, wrote me a script for a steroid pack, and that helped clear everything up just in time. Um, so I love doing the mountain biking when it's my off season. I grew up with horses. So I used to breed horses. I used to train horses. I've mm, pretty much retired from them, but Roger's wife, Karina, actually has two horses, and she is slowly but surely pulling me back into wanting to get back on the horse. So you might see a video of me riding again someday. Um, but it would at that point it would be fun. I wouldn't be trying to go crazy with doing anything professionally. So it would just be more fun trail riding, maybe the odd eventing. If I were to get back into the horses, it would be eventing where you jump crazy fences that don't fall down if you run right into them. So
Well, I grew up country. I've seen horses. I've seen
mhm.
them, been close to them, but I never rode one in my life. But my family, they did sharecropping, and I remember stories about plow behind a mule, and the mule would just flop in the middle of the field, and then
Oh
if that mule don't go, you can't do nothing. So But I think everybody have to have something that gives them a
yeah,
passion.
yeah,
Doing this is kind of a passion for me. When I get to talk to women like yourself and hear your stories. Like this is the third interview of this week for me. I mean, back to back.
that's
I was like, I was
amazing.
busy. I just also talked to a lady who also she was doing physique, but she
Yeah,
made her switch to her name is Brittany Felicia. She made
mhm.
her debut as a figure competitor at the Toronto Super Show. I got to watch the show,
Nice.
and I heard about the situation you had wasn't as bad as the situation they had this, for instance, Toronto Super Show. I mean, it was oh. The
Did they
stories I'm
spray her
hearing.
face after all the makeup was on, and
Hmm?
you're the first one out?
Yeah,
I said, did they spray her face with their tan
I don't
after her
know.
makeup was on? and then they had to redo hair and makeup.
Yeah, probably. I don't know because, like I said, she gave you details of it, but I think it was a
Yeah,
lot of because they didn't start doing. They already had a schedule set.
yeah.
Then they kept pushing back the schedule, and then it was. I think Figure didn't finish up for the finals till like about 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then physique when bodybuilding was nearly to midnight for the end.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, it was. I was talking to one lady who was making her. She was making her pro debut that day. I interviewed her. Her name is Shannon. She lives in Pennsylvania. She was talking. Her friend was with her to talk about how things were just going. Like, I mean, it was just like. But one friend told me also that it happens sometimes. But again, a big show like Toronto, you should be better prepared.
Yes, agreed. But you know what? There are some things that they just, they rely on other people, and there are some things that are out of their control. So we try best as much as possible to mitigate the issues, but not all of them can be fully controlled.
All right. We have a comment from my man Black Panther. He says this. He says, mountain bike riding, mountain bike and horse back riding are great exercise for the legs for
Yep.
fun. Miss Martin, you are the greatest.
Thanks.
Also, he says this. He says, Miss Martin, you have great arms. Keep up the great work. So yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. Appreciate that. And the thing is that, things happen. We have to be prepared, especially
Yes.
when we get ready for competition. Like I look at this sport and if you look at some other sports where you can make a living off of it, you can even if you play in like the NFL, NBA, or if you're just starting out in the sport like major league sport, you can make a living with it. Bodybuilding, only a handful of people can make a living out of it. People like Andrea, people like Sadson Dua, I know
There.
Andrew Jack got literally $1 million doing 2 armored shows.
Yeah.
But and for y'all women, there is the cost of because you're doing masters, meaning you have to pay to play, then you have to
Yep.
go to the shows, and
Yep.
this and that, and then show day is your biggest expense because you have to have your makeup done, your hair done, your suits together, you got to be glued, lace, sprayed, tan, glazed, and you have to be out there presenting these bodies.
Yep. Yeah. It ironically enough, I've managed to cut all my costs because now I do my own hair. Now I do my own makeup. I will always pay for the tan because I do feel that if you try to do that on your own, you don't look right on stage. Especially when everybody else is almost the same color, you know. Um, and then and I will say that the tanning for the most part has been fairly reasonable. Like at this last show was 155. Tampa was like 165. Max is going to be 155, 165, something like that. So again, not too crazy, but because I have spent so much money on my tan, I try to make this tan last as long as possible. So I'm always patting dry so I don't get the streaks. So, and then um, from Tampa to MaxFit, though, I might have to use there's a special soap that you can use to get the tan off faster. So I might have to do that so that I'm actually fresh for the um, for the MaxFit because that one actually has a pretty decent purse. So we talked a little bit about the divisions getting smaller and smaller. A lot of the purses go towards bikini for women and wellness, and then bodybuilding for men. Like at the Tampa Pro, I think the bodybuilder category for pros is a $10,000 winning for first place, but for open, it's only $2,000 for figure. So same now with Max Fit. It's they have a $10,000 purse for um, figure 40 plus. So it makes sense.
And see, with the guys, they got all they got to wear is a pair of banana hammers and board shorts. They other than the tan and stuff like that, they had no many expenses. And we always know that men and women not going to be equal, but I think a little bit more. I mean, if Anastasia Ryder just did a GoFundMe because this year they're going to cut out women's bodybuilding from the Tampa Bay show. I got to meet Tim
Well,
Gardner when I went there.
yeah. Well, to her effect, okay, I was actually working one of the NPC shows, and the same weekend she was doing Chicago Pro, she came in third in women's bodybuilding and won a whopping $500. $500. The overall NPC bikini competitor won $300. I was like, well, good for the NPC person for actually winning, but the person who, like, and again, I'm not poo pooing. I understand the money goes towards usually the people who draw the most amount of attention, right? That's why you see, the NFL players make more money than the women categories, than the women's sports. That's just general, except the only place where women have an advantage are going to be your dance and your gymnastics. So, men having not quite the same advantages there. Um, but the it Anastasia had to work so hard and for so long to get where she is. To make $500 is unfortunate. So, I mean, that probably covered the cost of her flight and maybe her tan. So, and of course, we don't do this. We don't do this for the money, but it would be nice for something.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I
one
know
of these
Anastasia.
days,
Yeah, and she's been a guest on my channel a couple of times. I know she lives in Florida, but I remember last time talking, she was going to take a break, but now because they're trying to unify for women's bodybuilding, I know she did
oh,
Toronto. I think she might be planning on Tampa.
I think
And she
she
said
is.
you're doing Tampa also and Max Fit. So those are two shows you can do for the finish up the season.
Yeah, yeah, at least for sure. Those are the two that are on the docket. I've already signed up for Tampa. MaxFit I'm gonna wait until my credit card statement closes and then I'll put it on the next month because I don't like to carry balances. I'm like, I'm one of those crazy people. Um, and uh I have to make sure that I have a h- I'm not your average personal trainer, so I have a lot more expenses because of all my devices and whatnot. So I have to make sure that I cover all of that is covered for the cost of the business first before I make any future decisions.